It's week 4 of BU 301, 1 month into the semester already. It's going to be a great week. This week, we'll be discussing grant management tasks for projects funded by private sources, most often foundations or other funds. Readings for this week include Chapter 8 of our course text in supplement readings posted in Moodle. And assignments include a discussion forum, quiz, and assignment number 4, where you will draft a 1 to 2 page paper highlighting 3 differences between private and public funding awards. Your grant-funded project will be awarded to your organization or entity from different sources. You could receive support through a federal program, for example, a medical research project funded through the National Institute of Health, or a state program such as the Invasive Species Program within the Michigan Department of Natural Resources. When you hear reference to funding from private sources, which is what we will focus on this week, we are most often referring to foundations, certain funds, or corporate giving programs. While every funding source will have some differences when compared to each other, there are some key differences between federal, state, and private funding sources. One of the largest differences is where the grant funds come from. Federal grant funding, sometimes referred to as government grants, most often come from programs supported from collected tax dollars. This may also be true for state and local governments as well. Private funding sources, such as foundations, grant award funds from endowments and funds collected through donations and fundraisers. As a very basic explanation, an endowment is a sum of money, or sometimes property, that is invested, and the investment revenue is used for a specific purpose identified by the foundation. The original investment, likely cash or property, is known as the corpus. This sum grows over time as a result of earned income from interest on the original investment, or the corpus. The investment may also be increased over time where foundations will add more funds to the sum of money earning revenue through investments. Endowments are often created by universities and hospitals, but they are also common within foundations and other nonprofit organizations. The grant award you receive from a private foundation is likely to have come from the entity's endowment fund. Corporate giving programs often grant a percentage of the corporation revenues. There are many different kinds of corporate giving programs, including employee matching gift programs, where the company will match a donation by an employee to a nonprofit organization. For example, a local utility company might announce to its employees that they will match employee donations to the Boys and Girls Club of Bay Mills in a 1-to-1 match. So if an employee makes a $25 donation to Boys and Girls Club, then the company will match that donation with another $25 donation for a total donation of $50. Then the total amount of all the employee donations and the company match is awarded to the Boys and Girls Club. Other types of corporate giving include community grant programs, where corporations give to local needs, challenge grants, volunteer programs that organize staff volunteer opportunities, and automatic payroll deductions. It's important to understand where the funds for your grant award originated from, as it may impact the requirements of managing your grant award. There are advantages and disadvantages of receiving a grant award through a private entity such as a foundation. One of the advantages of working with the grant program at a private entity includes the timing of the award. On average, the grant award response process is faster within private grant programs. The faster turnaround time is realized from multiple factors. Private organizations may have fewer levels of approval and review compared to federally funded awards, and there are also less regulations to check and work through than federal awards, often resulting in a quicker award notice, more flexible use of funds, and less reporting. Private grant programs may also be less competitive as there are fewer applicants received in response to a solicitation compared to large federal programs. Oftentimes, foundations will restrict the type of applicants and regions in which funding is focused. For example, a university endowment fund may focus giving directly to research programs from university faculty and students, or a community foundation, such as the Chippewa County Community Foundation, will make grant awards solely within their direct community. While federal programs can make regional restrictions as well, larger programs often make grant awards nationwide. Private funders also generally have more flexibility in the topics that they choose to support. These could be new and emergent ideas, ones that do not yet have a body of evidence behind them. Private foundations also have the ability to support experimental activities and to collaborate with whomever they would like. On the contrary, private grant funding programs have some disadvantages. Again, on average, grant awards are often smaller in their total dollar award. It is common for organizations to submit grant proposals to multiple foundations to cover different parts of the same project. For example, an organization working to start a medical transportation program may submit one proposal to fund the purchase of a new vehicle and submit another proposal to a different foundation to fund vehicle drivers and community outreach efforts. There are, of course, large foundations that make multi-million-dollar awards that mirror federal grant awards, such as the Ford Foundation, Mott Foundation, and the Gates Foundation. But on average, private awards are a bit smaller. Another disadvantage of private grant funding is that indirect costs may not be supported at the level allowable in federal grant awards. Indirect funds cover project expenses not included in the direct project cost, such as facility and maintenance cost or support personnel. These funds are very beneficial to the grantee organization. Without such support, the grantee must cover these expenses. There may also be less opportunity to talk directly to program staff and small foundations and funds, as oftentimes smaller foundations may not have full-time staff for external communication. It is also difficult to plan for foundation funding past the initial award. The total amount of awardable funds and the funding priorities can fluctuate from year to year. The level and frequency of grant reporting is often noticeably different between private and public funding sources. Federal programs have stricter guidelines for financial and progress reporting than many private foundations. This is, of course, not always the case. There are large foundations that require reporting comparable to federal programs. But for the most part, on average, this part of grant management will look a little different. The frequency of report deliverables should be outlined in your grant agreement or other correspondence from the grantor. This could be quarterly, semi-annual, or annual reporting. Some grantors will request full progress narrative reports and financial reports throughout your project period, while some funders will only request such information once at the end of your project. As a grant manager, it's part of your responsibility to know what the reporting deliverables are for your project and ensure the timely submission of those reports. You will see here examples of a progress report and financial report templates from the Great Lakes Fisheries Trust. This private entity provides a nice template to help grantees complete their reporting requirements. Many entities provide such a resource, but not all. It's important for program directors to understand what resources are available from your funder. And if you have any outstanding questions, always ask. In addition to less stringent reporting requirements, privately funded projects may also have a bit more flexibility with project implementation. You will almost always have a specific project period, total award amount, and deliverables such as project reporting and meeting the goals that were outlined in your proposal. But how you carry out the specific tasks of your project will vary and will be impacted by the guidelines outlined in your grant agreement. For example, Many federal funders will require grantees to follow award announcement procedures and publishing guidelines. Award announcement procedures may require an awardee to hold project activities until a formal announcement is made by the funder, or require the awardee to draft a press release document as part of the project implementation. A grantor may also request review and approval of work that will be published under the grant-funded project. This process often takes a significant amount of time. These additional guidelines are certainly not bad, and there are many reasons that they are in place. However, such guidelines often require more oversight and additional time and resources to ensure compliance. In addition, private grant awards often have more flexibility within the project budget. Federal programs have more regulations on allowable and unallowable expenditures. Budgets of privately funded awards do not always have to comply with many of the federal guidelines, thus allowing a little bit more flexibility with grant expenditures. Now, this doesn't mean that grant funds can be spent on anything the program director wants. Funds still need to align with the intent of the project, but foundation projects often have more flexibility to quickly adjust budget line items or move funds around. We'll talk more about managing grant budgets, including making budget adjustments later in this semester.